Hey ho guys, welcome back to the podcast Cave, brought to you by Hato Studios. Today I'm joined by my main woman Janet and my new main man Stefan Nieuwoudt. Stefan is a director, filmmaker, got a lot of credentials, got a lot of good work under his belt. He's also, funnily enough, our director here at Hato. Stefan, do you want to start just by telling us a little bit about yourself, some of the stuff you've done?
Yeah, thanks. It's nice. It's definitely different now to sit here
Yes.
and look at you guys
like it?
straight into your actual living eyes and not on a screen. So I'm working with the Schultz Creative now and doing lots of fun things here. But previously, I worked in the Afrikaans film industry. So I went to film school, studied movies, studied making movies. I always tell you guys not to tap.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then I did it.
And to have your cell phone on your lap.
Yes. So I went to film school because we wanted to make movies. And then I went on to work at Urban Brew Studios, did a bit of television work and stuff, and then started getting the opportunity because on the weekends, me and some friends would make short films because we got tired of not doing what we studied. And then through some of those short films came the opportunity to make some Afrikaans films when Afrikaans movies were becoming popular again. So I was lucky to be part of kind of that
The glory
time.
days.
Yeah, the golden days. But in that time, I did get to make a lot of movies, which was cool.
And obviously in that process, you've become, I would say, an expert storyteller.
Well, I think expert's a big word, but you have to figure out how to at least engage an audience a little bit if you want to make a movie, because they're paying money to watch this thing. And you want them to sit there, drive there, and sit there in a theater for 2 hours. And in like whatever we do now, it's even more important because people can just click on something else. You know?
Yeah.
So, and storytelling is the thing that keeps people engaged. It's like the oldest form of getting your attention and making you sit and watch something.
Yeah.
You know.
And then, that's one of the main things we wanted to talk to you about today is storytelling. And then, but Jan, from a brand's point of view,
Yeah.
how important is storytelling?
Extremely important. It's part of what differentiates one brand from another. So the brands that are successful, particularly those in competitive landscapes, the ones that are able to tell their stories in a really human way are the ones that other humans, their customers, can engage with them and feel some emotional connection. So without storytelling as a business or a brand, you become inhuman. You become a thing, a logo, and a person, a potential customer will really struggle to connect with that on an emotional level. And at the end of the day, the people buying things are people. And so you need to be able to tell compelling stories as a brand in order to connect with those customers. And it's not easy to do.
No.
So, being able to tell good stories that are legitimate and authentic as a brand is an important tool in a marketer's toolkit.
When you're telling any story, how should we structure it for maximum impact and absorption?
Well, I think why is structure important, right? Structure in storytelling is old. It's something that's it's tools that have been there for thousands of years, since the Greeks or whatever, since oral stories were a thing. And it's one of those nice things that it's something you can always steal from. It's important because you need to keep an audience engaged, right? So a movie's got a 3-act structure. It's got a hero's journey. It's got a midpoint where things turn around. It's got plot twists, all of these things that has been now built upon since people have learned from each other. And that's all tools and tricks you use to keep an audience engaged and to make them care about your hero or your love story or like whoever your main character is. So in a way, if you can use structure well in a podcast or an ad or anything you're doing for a brand, you are letting the audience engage with that brand like they would with a character in a story. And those tools that you're using is keeping the audience engaged. And it's important in a podcast because podcast is a long form thing. So that's why you have it. It doesn't have to be extremely complicated, but it's like the stuff you mentioned about a beginning, a middle, and end. Structure is also a comfortable thing for the audience.
Yes.
It's like they kind of, you're delivering something in a bit of a package that they know what they're going to.
What are some tips for storytelling? Good.
Well, we do lots of brainstorms for brands and ideas, and I think I always navigate to comedy because that's what I did.
Yeah.
And it's just what you know, and it's a very quick way to grab someone's attention.
Yeah.
It's just to make them smile and just to do something clever that gives them a little laugh, and that's like also a very quick way to relate to a person. If you think about it, if you meet a person that is funny, then you know you like that person's like a magnet to
You're
other
more
people.
likely to remember them.
Exactly, yeah. And it's a very good little package to deliver a message within, with a laugh. But there's a lot of things on the spectrum of emotion and stuff that you can use for a brand. And depends on what you're doing. If you're doing a 30-second commercial, you can tell a little emotional story within that, or you can tell a funny story, or you can, with commercials, it's actually fun because you can go like even a little bit surreal with those.
I was going to say, so like you've obviously got a background in filmmaking, short film stuff, but now you're doing commercials and stuff like that where you do have to tell a brand story quite quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's been
connect,
exciting with working here now. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's a whole new, you have to be disciplined in a whole new way. But when coming back to a podcast, at commercials 30 seconds, you've only, so you have to do everything you need to do within those 30 seconds. You guys were talking earlier about like your hook when you start a podcast, for instance. Those first 30 seconds are almost just as important. It's an important skill to bring over to like the world of podcasting, because you can have great content for an hour and a half, but you have to get those people into it
for a full hour and a half.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hard.
Yeah.
So how, when it comes to podcasts, how do we bring storytelling into it? From you're a brand now. How do you turn an episode about, I don't know, intros and outros into a story?
Well, I don't have nearly as much of the fundamentals as Stefan does, but for me, I always just start with the super simple beginning, middle, end. Your intro, the main meat, the content, and your outro. So whenever we are planning the content, we think about what is the main message that we want to deliver? How do we think of something that's unique or interesting or insightful to get the person interested in that intro? We obviously then discuss to a certain degree, and our format is we bounce things off one another and then, wrap up at the end. But I have to say, I don't think we think about it from any sort of cinematic perspective.
No, maybe we should.
Absolutely. So that's why it's so wonderful having someone at the desk who is able to stop us while we are chatting and give us suggestions and pointers and say it more like this, don't do that, and that's the beauty of having someone with that kind of experience.
I think specifically when you're doing something unscripted, having a story, a narrative or like a story is quite hard.
Yeah.
Well, I also think that podcasts are something that when they came out, I remember people saying on like talk shows and stuff, but it's radio. Like, what's the difference between this and listening to the radio? And the difference with the podcast is it's actually so vast what you can do. Like, I listen to a lot of stuff that is cinematic in a way.
Yeah.
Like, if there's some history stuff and there's some stuff about movie making, some podcasts about movie making, stuff like that tell you a story, but they actually bring in sound effects. They actually bring in dramatic music. They actually have like key moments within that podcast that you would get in a movie script structure.
Yeah.
And the reason why it's vast is because of the way that people listen to it. So if I'm not just watching it, listening to it.
Yeah.
So if I'm doing some exercise, or I'm trying to go to bed, or I'm trying to fall asleep or whatever, there's different podcasts that I listen to for different things. And I can actually now watch a little movie in my head without watching it. And that's the experience that I'm going for. And there's so much you can do with sound. And I think podcasts and visuals, obviously.
Yeah.
You guys have talked a lot about the visual and the audio thing. But sometimes when you limit what you have, it brings out more creativity and brings out more options in how you can tell the story.
And some podcasts are narrative, like if you think about
totally.
True Crime South Africa or something, that is very cinematic in the way they do that, at least the way I think about it. And what about just pacing? Can you bring that into a podcast?
Yeah, well,
is that relevant?
There's a little bit of that thing of like, I think it was like this old thing that they said about one of the classical musicians, like Mozart or somebody, that the audience would fall asleep and then he would like suddenly play loud music and he would wake them up again, and then they would listen to the rest of the song. And that's a little bit about what pacing does. So I think within your interviews, I think you guys are getting a real good hang of it, of like when you've got a guest that's yapping, you know, when
we like
to
guests that yap. That's why we have them.
When to move on to the next question. Next point.
I suppose you could also do it by injecting a bit of humor or something just to sort of change the vibe if it's getting a bit...
Well, I had a thought while you were talking about comedy earlier, how I feel like when it's a podcast, you also really have to lean into the personalities around the table. You know, so I find it so stressful trying to be funny, whereas, you know, other people like Rich can, you know, say something that's completely unexpected and hilarious.
Well, at least to you.
Well,
maybe not.
I don't know.
He's been planning it in his head for
well,
5
maybe
minutes.
that's
Sometimes
what
I
it
just
is.
so now thinking about, no, I'm joking.
But, you know, I think what's important is that the people around the desk can shine. So, you know, being able to be yourself and, you know, have your own personality is part of what makes a podcast a wonderful way to talk to people, because you can be yourself. And if you are telling a good story and you've got interesting and valuable content, people will be getting that and getting to know you a little bit through that.
To add to that, with the podcast, what's nice is you edit it afterwards. And coming back to pacing, like that's again maybe something that's a bit different than a live TV show or a radio show or something like that. There is actually a little bit of thought that can go into the pacing of the thing. So you've got that third eye that is the editor that can go like, okay, cool. Maybe this part of the conversation looked interesting whilst we were shooting it, but let's cut that. And
it doesn't feel right anymore.
Yes,
Yeah, well, it messes up the pacing, I guess.
Yeah.
And then a good story obviously has a good ending.
Yes.
This is something that we struggle with, and I might maybe in the next minute or so be struggling with it myself, is how do you end, how would you end a podcast? How do you wind something up in a way that's satisfying?
Well, in movie making, in a movie script, you call that the denouement.
Okay.
Who?
The denouement, if I'm pronouncing it right.
Okay.
So your good guy has won and saved the damsel or whatever. The climax of the story is done.
Yeah.
Now you've got like all of the loose ends that might still be unresolved within your story to
Wind up.
Yeah. And anything that like might still be a lingering question in your audience's mind, uncertainty of what's happening to a character, that kind of thing, you sort out, you wrap it up in 5 minutes. So I guess in 5 minutes where you had like a 2-hour movie that you just watched. And that's also your audience's chance to take a breath and calm down for like, it's a pacing thing as well for the heart rate to go down.
We talked earlier about just not ending too abruptly and
Exactly.
actually winding down.
Yeah. I also feel like for content that's more corporate, and if there's a brand message, the end of the story is also where you tie in why you are telling the story and why it's important for the listener and how it comes back to the business and their offering or their benefits for their customer. So the end is an important place for you to kind of wrap it up in a bow and remind the listener that the business offers this or can give you the following benefits. And if your content is going to be useful for you in other areas, you might also want to consider something like a call to action where you get the listener to go elsewhere, do another step, receive a download or get some sort of benefit elsewhere. So, typically at the end of your episode, you could also do something like that if you've got a brand message to include.
Okay. So we wanted to do this episode to communicate the importance of storytelling for a brand. Because it humanizes your brand and helps you sort of connect with your audience. You see what I did there?
It's brilliant. Hey,
Wrapped
so
it.
well trained.
Wrapped it right up.
He's been doing it for years.
Thanks, Stefan. It's been really cool talking to you. Thanks, Jan. I'll see you soon. Guys, if you've got any questions about storytelling for your brand, please put them in the comments below, and we will see you guys in the next episode.